একটু দেখলো, তিনি এসেছিলেন একবার,
আচ্ছা
দেখতে কি হচ্ছে। দেখলো, তিনি এসেছিলেন একবার।
ওকে, সবাইকে ওয়েলকাম জানাই ভাবনার তরফ থেকে। অ্যান্ড আমার নতুন করে ইন্ট্রোডিউস করার কিছু নেই, আশা করি যারা এই মুহূর্তে এই কলের মধ্যে আছেন সবাই জানেন। দুই একজন যারা আমাদের অর্গানাইজেশনের স্টাফ কয়েকজন আছেন যারা হয়তো আপনাকে নাও চিনতে পারে, বিকজ উই আর ভেরি মাচ ইয়ং অ্যান্ড নিউ টু দিস ফিল্ড। সো আমি সেই জন্য বলে রাখি, ইন্দ্রাণীদি আমাদের সঙ্গে অনেকদিন পরিচিতি, যদিও মানে ইন্দ্রাণীদি সেই ওপরের দিকে, আমরা নিচে ছোট্ট সাধারণ মানুষ। তো ইন্দ্রাণীদি ইন্টারন্যাশনালি ফেমাস অন দ্য parent training, mother's training specifically. So AF Action for Autism Delhi, Action for Autism, কি বলছো তুমি, কিছু বলছো?
সরি টু ইন্টারাপ্ট দিদি, শুধু মানে ওটা নয় দিদি, সব দিক থেকেই মানে দিদি অটিজম।
আমি বললাম যেটা অ্যাকশন ফর অটিজমের ওই ডিপার্টমেন্টটা উনি হেড করেন, প্লাস অনেক কিছু নিয়ে দিদি সেমিনার আমরা অ্যাটেন্ড করে অটিজম সম্পর্কে যখন আমরা বেবি ছিলাম, অটিজম সম্পর্কে আস্তে আস্তে শিখছিলাম, তখন দিদির কাছ থেকে অনেক কিছু শিখেছি। আমরা চাই সেই নলেজগুলো যাতে বাকিরাও পায়, অ্যান্ড বিকজ অফ দ্যাট আজকের এই ওয়েবিনারটা অ্যারেঞ্জ করা। অ্যান্ড অ্যাজ এপ্রিল ইজ দ্য অটিজম অ্যাওয়ারনেস মান্থ, তার একটা পার্ট অফ দ্য টক যে আমরা এমন একজনের কাছ থেকে জানতে পারবো, মানে এরকম একটা সেমিনার আমরা অ্যাটেন্ড করেছিলাম, আমি আর সুদেশনা, যেখান থেকে আমাদের চিন্তা ভাবনা থট প্রসেসটাই চেঞ্জ হয়ে গেছিল। তো তার একটা যাতে সবাই পায়, আমাদের সঙ্গে জড়িত যারা সবাই পায়, সেই জন্যই আজকের এই ওয়েবিনারটা আমরা অর্গানাইজ করেছি। তো সেই জন্য সবাইকে বলছি যে সবাই মিউট করে রাখুন, নাহলে আমি ফোর্সফুলি সবাইকে মিউট করে দেবো। অ্যান্ড যতক্ষণ ডিসকাশন হবে, লেটস ফোকাস অন দ্য ডিসকাশন, অ্যান্ড কোশ্চেন করার টাইম সবাই পাবেন, তখন রিলেভেন্ট কোশ্চেন করবেন। কেউ যেন এদিক ওদিক কোশ্চেন যেটা রিলেভেন্ট নয় আজকের টপিকের জন্য সেটা প্লিজ করবেন না। and we'll have very limited time for question answer, so যদি পসিবল হয় কোশ্চেন গুলো টাইপ করে চ্যাটে দিয়ে দিলে it will be easier to address. তো আমার আর কিছু বলার নেই, দিদি প্লিজ।
থ্যাংক ইউ সো মাচ বাবু। আমি একটাই রিকোয়েস্ট করব, যদি সম্ভব হয় আমরা যদি আমাদের ভিডিওস গুলো অন রাখতে পারি। থ্যাংক ইউ শ্রেয়া, থ্যাংক ইউ শিশিরজি। আমরা যদি আমাদের আই এম সরি, प्रथम कथा, the first thing that I wanted to say is that हम अंग्रेजी में बोलेंगे, हिंदी में बोलेंगे, थोड़ा सा बांग्ला में बोलेंगे। अगर कहीं भी किसी को भाषा समझने में दिक्कत हो रही है, प्लीज हमें स्टॉप करके बोलिएगा दूसरे भाषा में बोलने के लिए। कभी कभार मेरा डिफॉल्ट अंग्रेजी हो जाता है, सो थोड़ा सा मेरे साथ, I would want you to be a little patient with me. And thank you Damayanti, thank you Shoma for getting your videos on. Amra cheshta korbo, we will try and keep this as interactive as possible, so that আমাদের এটা একটা one way জিনিস তো প্রশ্নই ওঠে না, because this is a learning opportunity. আপনাদের কাছ থেকে I'm hoping that I will go back with your experiences so that I can learn better. Okay, so welcome everyone. And আজকে আমরা একটা খুব what would I say, adolescence এর ব্যাপারে কথা বলবো। And before I really talk about this topic, I just wanted to ask the group that amra ki, has anyone told us that adolescence এর ব্যাপারে একটা immense anxiety? Has anyone ever experienced that adolescence এ ভীষণ অসুবিধা হবে? Has anyone ever experienced that? I know that আমাদের সময় প্রচুর বলা হতো এই কথাটা। So I'm one person who's experienced that. প্রচুর লোকেরা বলতো adolescence is going to be very difficult. Anyone over here? Right? আমরা হাত উঠে we can always answer. ঠিক আছে? So I'm so glad that কিছু লোকেরা সেটা শোনেনি, which is excellent. That means we've moved. আর আমরা, some of us have heard this. I just want to begin the discussion by saying, এই adolescence এর ব্যাপারে যে ভীতিটা আছে না, the fear that we have about adolescence, it's not necessary that adolescence is going to be that difficult. আমি একটা জিনিস রিয়েলাইজ করছি, I can either speak in Bangla or I can speak in Hindi. मैं जो करने वाली हूँ मैं हिंदी में ही बोलूंगी. मुझे लग रहा है मैं 2 इंडियन भाषा में बोलूंगी तो मैं कंफ्यूज हो जाऊंगी, सो मैं हिंदी में ही बोलती हूँ. ठीक है. सो द थिंग इज दैट ये जो डर रहता है ना हमारे दिमाग में एडोलेसेंस के बारे में, प्लीज ये डर निकाल दीजिए. ये जो हम स्मूथ ट्रांजिशन की बात बोल रहे हैं ये बिल्कुल मुमकिन है. एंड एडोलेसेंस नीड नॉट बी सच अ फ्राइटनिंग एक्सपीरियंस for our children and for us. Okay, and I really want to begin with that. And we're going to do a revision. We all know this. Okay? We know that autism is a different neurobiology. There are structural and functional differences in the brain. The brain functions differently. This is something that we need to remember. हमने याद रखना है at all points of time. ठीक है. जिस तरीके से हमारे बच्चे, हमारे एडल्ट्स दुनिया को देखते हैं, दुनिया को एक्सपीरियंस करते हैं, ये बहुत अलग है. एंड व्हाट इज इंपॉर्टेंट ओवर हियर इज दैट unlike any other condition, जहां पे सोचिए आप, हम cerebral palsy के बारे में बोल रहे हैं. cerebral palsy में जो होता है, one aspect, so the motor aspect is different, but बाकी का सारा aspect is like you and me who are neurotypical. ठीक है. Or for that matter, if somebody is blind, is visually impaired, देखने का तरीका, दुनिया को महसूस करने का तरीका through the vision is different, but the thinking style, the brain functions like yours and mine, the learning style is like ours. So unlike any other condition, when the brain functions differently, it is critical for us to remember that when you have autism, ये pervasive है, ये अलग एक identity हो जाती है. Autism basically impacts the entire being. It's a different way of being, and it is a lifelong way of being. There is no question of cure. हम identity को cure नहीं करते हैं, right? हम में से कितने लोग can be cured of our gender? We can't be cured of our gender because हमारी gender हमारी identity है, right? So there is no question of cure because this is an identity that we are talking about. Okay. We know that हमारे बच्चे sense the world differently, they think differently, they understand and interact differently. जिस तरीके से वो language को समझते हैं, जिस तरीके से वो अपने feelings को, अपने thoughts को, अपने desires को इजहार करते हैं, that is completely different. And we also know that because the neurobiology is different, they learn differently. जो अहम बात है यहाँ पे is that while they learn differently, while autism impacts the learning style, it does not at any point of time impact the ability to learn. सीखने की क्षमता को ये absolutely does not impact. So when we use strategies that fit in with the autistic neurobiology, हमारे बच्चे can and will reach their maximum potential. Okay. All right. When we talk about learning style, एक चीज जो हम सब जानते हैं, हमारे बच्चे रूटीन से ब्यूटीफुली सीखते हैं. That is such a strength for autistic people. So just think about it. And I know that all of you will agree with me on this. Okay. The fact that अगर आप मॉल जा रहे हो and एक बार आपने एक रास्ता लिया, दूसरी बार आपने वही रास्ता लिया, तीसरी बार आपने वही रास्ता लिया, चौथी बार आपका बच्चा उसी रास्ते को पहचानेगा और उसी रास्ते से जाना चाहेगा. So learning through routines, learning through consistent experience is a strength of the autistic neurobiology. Now, from our perspective, it could be a helpful routine or an unhelpful routine. It does not matter. ठीक है. So अगर बच्चे ने सीखा है that हम जब बाहर से आते हैं जूते शू रैक पे जाता है, ये रूटीन उसने सीख ली है. इट्स अ लाइफ लॉन्ग लर्निंग. घर में सब कोई भूल जाएंगे मगर हमारा ऑटिस्टिक बच्चा नहीं भूलेगा. सिमिलरली अगर मेरे बच्चे ने सीखा है कि हम टेबल पे बैठ के खाते हैं, डाइनिंग टेबल पे बैठ के खाते हैं, बाकी लोग टीवी के सामने बैठ के खा रहे हैं, हमारा बच्चा नहीं करेगा. दैट इज देयर स्ट्रेंथ. नाउ इट कुड आल्सो बी समथिंग लाइक घूम घूम के खाना. ठीक है, मैं एक निवाला लेता हूँ, फिर थोड़ा सा घूमता हूँ और फिर आता हूँ। अगर मेरे बच्चे ने ये सीख लिया है, दैट इज ऑल्सो अ लर्निंग फॉर अ लाइफ टाइम ऑफन। ये सीखा है कि हम जब भी दुकान में जाते हैं, नुक्कड़ वाली जो दुकान है ना, वहां पे जब भी हम जाते हैं, हमने हमारी पसंद की चिप्स या कुरकुरे खरीदनी ही है। अगर ये रूटीन उसने सीख लिया है, the child will always want to buy that kurkure and or the chips. Okay, so whether it's a helpful routine or an unhelpful routine from our perspective, okay, our children learn routines for life, just like you and I do actually. And once it's learned, it is very difficult for our children to unlearn and relearn. Everyone, I'm sure, is going to agree with me on that. So this is our lifespan, babas. ठीक है? और ये lifespan अगर हम देखेंगे, इस lifespan में ये जो सबसे light color है, ये है childhood. दूसरा है a slightly slimmer slice is our adolescence. And then it's adulthood. So this is what our lifespan looks like. This tiny little slice is childhood. The rest is adolescence and adulthood. और हमने अभी क्या बोला, that हमारे बच्चे सबसे अच्छी तरह से कैसे सीखते हैं? Through routines. And if childhood occupies just 10 to 15% of the lifespan, हम कौन से समय के लिए हमारे बच्चों को सिखाएंगे? For childhood or for the rest of the 85 to 90% of the time? One or two? Just show me. Two, right? Yeah, thanks, Shreya. So we are going to ensure that whatever we teach has a lifespan approach, because remember, routines learned in childhood are the routines that are often going to be manifested in adolescence and adulthood. So हम जो कुछ भी सिखाएंगे, हमें ना वो adolescence and adulthood को याद रख के सिखाना होगा, ठीक है? So that जो भी skills हम target कर रहे हैं is basically useful for them to lead happy, productive lives as adolescents and thereby as adults. Okay. So when do we start preparing for a smooth transition? Anyone? You can type it in the chat box. कब से हम प्रिपेयर करना शुरू करेंगे adolescence के लिए, adulthood के लिए? कब से शुरू करेंगे हम? Absolutely, from now. It does not matter how old your child is. Even the moment the child is diagnosed, we want to keep that bigger picture in the mind. We want our children to have blossoming adulthoods. So absolutely, Shreya, as early as possible. So we start this from now. And what do we do? Remember, one of the things that I'm sure a lot of you have heard, so this is kind of like a revision, is that autism में anxiety levels are usually very, very high. ये बोला जाता है that under ordinary circumstances, for the autistic person, their anxiety levels are as high as हमारी anxiety levels होगी if we lose a job. So that is the kind of anxiety and stress that our people live with under normal day-to-day circumstances. Or I'm sure you guys will agree with me that ऐसी anxiety अगर किसी के साथ होगी, वो सीखेंगे कैसे? Do you agree with me, all of us? With this kind of anxiety, it is impossible. None of us would be able to learn. We would just want to shut down, right? So it is absolutely critical for us. We're talking about learning, right? That we want to provide an environment where anxiety and stress is minimized. Learning can happen with motivation. The person wants to learn. Because खींचातानी करके, बिठा के, threaten करके, bribe करके, हम कितने दिन सिखा सकेंगे? 4 साल, 5 साल, 10 साल? What when the person is 13 years old, larger than you? हम कैसे खींचातानी करेंगे? पहली बात तो है वो पॉसिबल ही नहीं होगा। दूसरी बात जो बहुत अहम चीज है वो, इज इट रिस्पेक्टफुल? Absolutely, a happy child who learns. In fact, हम जो बोलते हैं the happy, willing, even eager learner. That is what we are looking at, and independence. We know this. How does it matter? अगर मेरा बच्चा स्टेटिस्टिक्स प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व कर सकता है मेरा हाथ पकड़ के, अभी मेरा हाथ पकड़ के कोई भी मुझे मलयाली में लिखा सकता है, right? But how does it matter? Also, I'm just going at a tangent. बंदा statistics problem solve कर सकता है मगर needs help to follow to wash his bottom. Is that what we are looking at? We not, no? So independence is critical, and we want to use teaching strategies that mesh with the autistic neurobiology. Shreya, I would rather you did not answer this. Okay? Other than you, anyone, please go ahead. So Shunas, this is this is something that we have, and यहाँ पे आप ये piece of wood देख रहे हो, और इस piece of wood को हमको इस गड्ढे में डालना है. And I would want you guys to unmute over here. Just raise your hand and I will unmute you. ठीक है? हम इस piece of wood को इस गड्ढे में कैसे डाल सकते हैं बच्चों? और डालना तो है ही हमें. So just raise your hand, I'll unmute you. Please, 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 जल्दी. Thank you, शशांकी. मैं आपको अनम्यूट कर रही हूँ. प्लीज अपने आप को अनम्यूट कर दीजिए. बोलिए कैसे कर सकते हैं शशांकी हम?
मैम स्क्वायर को तो सर्कल में फिट करना मुश्किल है. द ओनली ऑप्शन व्हिच आई कैन थिंक ऑफ इज उस स्क्वायर को हम लोग पॉलिश करके टू शेप इट इन द फॉर्म ऑफ.
Absolutely. So we are cutting down this square, we are shaping it like a circle. Perfect. Anyone else? Any other answers? So Shunas,
जो शेप है ना उसको हम लोग स्क्वायर कर लेते हैं. अभी जो यहाँ पे जो सर्कल वाला जो शेप जिसमें
absolutely, absolutely. So we have two options over here.
उसको हम लोग स्क्वायर कर लेंगे.
Absolutely. So शशांकी आपने गलत नहीं बोला, मगर हमने थोड़ा सा सोचना पड़ेगा. जब हम इस स्क्वायर को तोड़ मड़ोड़ के उसको सर्कल बना रहे हैं, उसकी अस्तित्व का क्या हुआ? What happened to that identity? वो तो स्क्वायर रहा ही नहीं, वो तो बिल्कुल अलग हो गया है. जब हम उसको तोड़ते हैं मड़ोड़ते हैं, उसकी आइडेंटिटी को क्या हुआ? We've just broken it. On the other hand, if we made the circle a little bigger so that the square kind of fits in, that is going to keep the identity of this square peg alive. And बच्चों हमारे बच्चे are like this square peg trying to fit into a world that is not made for them. And we can either break them, completely change their shape to fit them into this world, or we can make this world a little different for them. So respect for the autistic neurobiology is paramount from the time the child is 2 years old, 1.5 years old, from the time the child has been diagnosed. Okay, so we want to accommodate for work with the autistic identity. We want to work with the autistic way of being instead of trying to fix it. जब हम कुछ fix करते हैं, what do we fix? We fix something that's broken, जो टूटी हुई है. हमारे बच्चे कोई टूटी हुई चीज नहीं है. हमारे बच्चे whole autistic individuals हैं. Yes, different people, different way of being, but they are whole. In no way are they टूटा हुआ so that we need to fix it. Okay, so when we are talking about accommodations, I just want to spend some time on this. These are things that we've all seen, right? The wheelchair, the ramp, the cane, the textured pathway, the hearing aid, the chashma for us. हम क्यों ये सारी चीजें इस्तेमाल करते हैं? these are all prosthetic devices, right? These are all accommodations that we make for people who need to do this. Why do we use all of this? Because it is entirely possible, or let me even tell you this one, the braille. क्यों हम कोई भी विजुअली इम्पेयर्ड बंदे को ब्रेल देते हैं? बिकॉज अगर हम उसको ब्रेल नहीं देंगे वो सीखेंगे कैसे? आज आप लोगों के साथ मैं हिंदी में क्यों बोलने की कोशिश कर रही हूँ? सो दैट जो भाषा सबसे अच्छी तरह से सबको समझ सके उसी भाषा में हम बोलेंगे, राइट? वी विल मेक दैट अकोमोडेशन. Similarly, we give this braille to the visually impaired person, because without this braille, the person will not be able to learn, to enable learning. Okay, and what we need to remember is that what I'm going to talk about is structure and visual supports. Structure and visual supports are the accommodations, are the wheelchair, are the textured pathway, are the braille, are the hearing aid, are the chashma for the accommodation for the autistic people. And I know those of us who've heard about structure and visual supports, we're going to talk about, magar hum visual supports and structure denge, to banda to dependent ho jayega, right? और मैं आप लोगों को दो उदाहरण देने वाली हूँ. One is about the wheelchair. ठीक है? ये completely मुमकिन है जो बंदा wheelchair use कर रहे हैं वो थोड़ा बहुत मूव कर पाते हैं, बहुत तकलीफ के साथ अपने आप को घसीट के मूव कर सकते हैं, या दो बंदों के सहारे से मूव कर सकते हैं. मगर जब व्हील चेयर दी जाती है उनको, तब वो खुद अपने आप मूव कर सकते हैं. So think this through. Is this person, one, dependent on the wheelchair, or is he independent because of the wheelchair? One or two? Simple. Two. Similarly, chashma pehni hu main, okay? It's not as if I can't see without my glasses. I can, but I need a lot of support. Ye, you know, this is a fact. अगर मेरा चश्मा सुबह को मिल नहीं रहा है ना, my son and my husband are all over the place. यार इसको चश्मा दे दो, otherwise we won't be able to do our morning routine. She's constantly going to be asking for help. So chashma, am I dependent on the chashma, or am I independent because of the chashma? Two, right? And ditto for our autistic people. When we use visual supports and structure, like all accommodations, assistive devices, or prosthetic devices, it results in independence. It results in well-being. Can you even think of my stress if I can't find my glasses? I won't be able to function. It enables learning. The person who's visually impaired will not be able to learn without braille. It enables maximum productivity. Yes, without visual supports and structure, our children may be able to learn, but will they reach their maximum productivity? No. And this is what we mean by visual supports. It's a system of organizing, giving framework, defining boundaries, visualizing information about environment, time, activities, and other aspects, so that बंदा जो ऑटिस्टिक है उसको पता चल जाए कि वो क्या एक्सपेक्ट कर सकता है. और जब हमें पता है हम क्या एक्सपेक्ट कर सकते हैं, हमारे लिए एक्सपेक्टेड वे में बिहेव करना कहीं आसान हो जाता है. एंड दैट इज व्हाट visual supports and structure teaching does, when designed and applied with an understanding of the principles involved. And ये अहम है. हमने विजुअल सपोर्ट्स के बारे में सुना और हम करना शुरू करें? No, you understand it, because it's about individualization. It's about understanding exactly what is the kind of support that this person needs. It reduces anxiety and stress levels, improves functional capacities, it enables learning, enhances independence. It enhances flexibility. I know of people who say that, you know, if I give visual supports, my child will become robotic. Quite the opposite. Quite the opposite. The more visual supports that you give, the more structure that you give, the more flexibility the individual has. This is a tool to teach flexibility, and it enhances well-being. Why did I talk so much about this? Because at the end of the day, can be even a real, I'm sure it's absolutely clear. As adults, what is it that we're looking at? This piece, right? We're looking at reduced anxiety levels. We're looking at improved functional capabilities. We're looking at enhanced learning. We're looking at independence. We're looking at flexibility. We are looking at well-being. And for most autistic people, this is the answer. So right from now, in this environment where the person can learn, given these supportive devices, given the brain, we are going to teach our children varied skills जो हमारे बच्चों के लिए as adolescents and then as adults are absolutely critical. So we teach language and communication skills, right? Understanding what is being told, being able to respond with relevance, being able to express their needs, their wants, their thoughts, their feelings. हम ये सारी चीजों पे काम कर रहे हैं. We're working on social skills, on social understanding. अलग-अलग जगहों पे क्या expectation है and what is expected out of me? What is the relevant response in this particular social situation? We're teaching waiting, we're teaching turn taking, we're teaching imitation skills. Because imitation skills से जो होता है, somebody who can, so many of us, we learn from the environment. Why? Because we have heightened imitation skills. So जब imitation skills strong होती है in an autistic person, what happens is that ये जो हमको structured तरीके से सिखाना पड़ता है ना instructional setting में, ये थोड़ा सा कम हो सकता है because they start learning from the environment. Okay. The other thing is, just in a minute, it is so hot. Okay. The other thing is that think about self-help skills, especially जब हमारे बच्चे young adolescents है, adults है, हमारी बेटी को periods हुए हैं and we want her to wash herself really well, right? कौन सा ज़्यादा respectful है? She has good imitation skills और हम उसके लिए model कर रहे हैं how to clean yourself, या हम actually उसके साथ उसके लिए उसको clean कर रहे हैं? One is more respectful, right? So good imitation skills is something that we want to really be working on. We want to work on academic cognitive work skills, of course we do, and we want to remember to keep it functional. It is not enough that बंदा tabletop पे instructional settings में बहुत सारी academic skills उसको आती है, but जब हम उसको बोलते हैं शोना, आज guests आने वाले हैं, आप मुझे we will need around 12 forks, can you get it for me? The child should be able to do that. Reading functionally. So we will always remember, of course, school के लिए जो academics है वो बहुत अहम है, but the functional aspect of academic, cognitive and work skills is also critical. We want to teach play and leisure skills because we know that unstructured time, free time is often difficult for our children. मैं एक बार भी नहीं बोल रही हूँ कि हमारे बच्चों की जिंदगी में free time नहीं होगा. Quite absolutely not. Our children need their free time, but we also want to talk about ways in which they can occupy part of their free time. We want to teach self-help skills, independence in self-help skills. We want to help them be able to bathe on their own, dress on their own, eat on their own. ये हम सारी चीजें बोलते हैं independence के बारे में ना, एक चीज हमने याद रखनी है, is that when my child is, so if I had to ask you guys, you all would what is it that we want for our children? We would say we want them to be independent. हमारे बाद क्या, जितना बच्चा independent हो जाए उतना हमारी तसल्ली होती है. But think about it from the autistic person's perspective. Okay, some of us have aging parents over here. What is it that they always say? Baba, we don't want to be dependent on you guys. Yes or no? So independence is not just about hamari tasalli. Independence is about our children, about their self-esteem, about their agency, about their autonomy. Okay, so we want to be talking about independence and self-help skills. We want to be teaching them to be able to take care of their own belongings. चीजें कहाँ पे रखनी है, कैसे समेट के रखनी है. These are things that, you know, कपड़े कहाँ पे जाते हैं, कपड़े फोल्ड करके कहाँ पे जाते हैं, chores at home, घर का काम काज, ये अहम है अगर हम हमारे बच्चों को सिखाएं. बॉटल जो भी उनका इंटरेस्ट हो, जो भी वो कर पाए, एब्सोल्युटली सुष्मिता, सेल्फ सेटिस्फैक्शन, चोर्स एट होम, टेबल ले करना, ये कुछ सिंपल सी चीजें हैं जो हम चाहते हैं कि हमारे बच्चे करें, राइट? They feel part of the family. It's important for them. We also teach our children to make choices across varied areas. क्या खाने वाले हैं, क्या पहनने वाले हैं, कहाँ जाने वाले हैं. We want to teach our children to be comfortable with changes. So जो change होने वाला है, we always, and I'm using the word always, we want to prepare them. We want to inform about alternatives available. आज अगर हम आइसक्रीम नहीं खा पा रहे हैं, अगर मुमकिन हो क्यों बोलो, बिकॉज आपका गला खराब है, आज गाड़ी से नहीं जा सकते, बारिश गिर रही है, गिव द लॉजिक बिहाइंड इट. सेकेंडली, गिव द ऑल्टरनेटिव, कब खा सकेंगे अगर हमारे पास है, और अगर मुमकिन है प्लीज विजुअलाइज करें, बिकॉज चेंजेस आर डिफिकल्ट फॉर आवर चिल्ड्रन. यूज अ कैलेंडर, यूज अ स्केड्यूल, इफ नथिंग एल्स जस्ट ड्रॉ इट आउट. मगर मेरी ड्राइंग बहुत खराब है, भाई आपकी ड्राइंग खराब है, आप कुछ बोलने वाले हो ना, जितना आप बोलोगे उससे बेहतर मेरा बच्चा शायद आपकी खराब ड्राइंग समझ सकेगा, because visuals are often my child's first language. That's the neurobiology of the autistic person. We also want to teach self-regulatory strategies, available alternatives to de-stress. So, you know, kabhi kabar ye mumkin hai that mera bachcha jab bahut stressed hai, the only thing that he knows he can do is hit someone. Remember, that's the autistic neurobiology, the executive functioning, difficulties in accessing flexible alternatives by themselves. That's part of the neurobiology. Maybe that's the only way he or she knows. We need to teach them alternatives. We need to tell him that jab aapko thoda sa stress ho raha na, bothered ho raha, we can go and hit the, maybe a wall, maybe punch a pillow in the room, maybe hit a punching bag, and we need to teach this when the child is calm. We may want, you know, depending on the child, deep breathing. आप अपने कमरे में अंधेरे में बैठ सकते हो, maybe this will help you calm down, not as a punishment, but as a self-regulatory strategy. So all these things हम अभी से सिखा रहे हैं हमारे बच्चों को, and slowly we are moving towards adolescence. And the other critical thing that we want to teach our children is the concept of privacy. A privacy, you know, privacy is a very, very abstract concept, very abstract concept. For the women in the audience, आप लोगों को याद है कि कभी किसी वक्त मम्मी ने आपको बिठा के बोला था, you know, फला उम्र के बाद आप लोगों के सामने बगैर कपड़ों के नहीं आएंगे? I don't think any of our moms really sat us down and told us, now, this is an instinctive thing that happens. It's almost like we learn naturally. Given the autistic neurobiology, this may be a concept that we actually want to teach our children, because it requires heightened perspective taking, and that is something that is often difficult for some of our kids. So what is the concept of privacy? Tell me something. Bagair kapdon ke rehna, or for that matter, touching private parts, is it bad? Is it bad behavior? Absolutely not. No. So
actually, society gives us that concept of wearing clothes or like that. It's not.
Shona, I'm talking about forget wearing clothes. I'm talking about touching myself, touching my private parts.
It's not a bad thing. It's a natural thing.
It's a natural thing, but Shreya, Unmute yourself, my love.
Yeah, ma'am. Yeah, it's a natural thing, ma'am, but it's a private thing.
Yeah. So what does it mean? Shonaz, think about it. Of course, it's not socially, it is socially acceptable. Shushmita, हमारे यहाँ पे कौन है जो अपने private parts को कभी नहीं touch करते हैं? हाथ उठाएं please. यार नहाने के वक्त तो करते ही हैं और कभी करे ना करें. Right? So what we are trying to say is that there are some private acts which are to be done in private. That is what we want to be teaching our children. That is what privacy means. No behavior. Even digging my nose. If I had to dig my nose right now, it's socially unacceptable. But digging my nose per se is not unacceptable. There's a boundary for that.
Boundary.
Right? So that is what we need to teach our children, that there are some private acts that need to be done in private. That's it. So we want to teach our children what are private parts. Okay? We want to teach this when we're teaching our teaching body parts, but never ever on the tabletop. So जब बच्चा नहा रहा है, सोप लगा रहा है, हम बोलेंगे हम अपने private parts पे सोप लगा रहे हैं. ठीक है, पाउडर लगा रहे हैं, हम अपने प्राइवेट पार्ट्स पे पाउडर लगा रहे हैं. You can also do what we call you can do so get the child to stand and एक शीट के ऊपर उसका बॉडी का आउटलाइन ड्रॉ कर दीजिए. And that's where you can be showing that यहाँ पे आपकी आंखें हैं, यहाँ पे आपके कान है, ये आपके हाथ है, ये आपके पैर है, ये आपका प्राइवेट पार्ट है. ठीक है, so that's the way we're going to be teaching in very very natural circumstances. Okay. We also want to have the child understand that कुछ चीजें जो है ना वो private acts है. So for instance, relieving myself in the toilet, बगैर कपड़ों के रहना, नहाना, कपड़े पहनना, fondling private parts, scratching private parts, scratching an itchy bottom, digging nose, these are all private acts. And the fact that ये जो private acts है ना, ये हमने private area में करना है. और इसके बाद हम डिफाइन करने वाले हैं प्राइवेट या प्राइवेट एरिया है क्या. Now this completely depends on the kind of spaces that we have at home. Definitely toilet, definitely bathroom, private area है. अगर बंदे की खुद की bedroom है, then the bedroom can be his or her private area. If the person does not have his own bedroom, a secluded part of another room. If possible, can we have some kind of a curtain that basically secludes the place. You can also have these fancy आजकल कम लोग इस्तेमाल करते हैं, हमारे वक्त में बहुत इस्तेमाल होता था, ये wooden blinds जो मिलते हैं ना फोल्ड करने के लिए. Those are things that you can use. घर भी अच्छा दिखेगा and हमारी privacy की concept भी आ जाएगी. Okay, so depending on that we define it. और हम इसको further कैसे define करेंगे? We use clear visuals. ये जो शब्द है private, इसको बोल्ड लेटर्स में लिख के हम सोचिए हम कोई बाथरूम के बारे में बोल रहे हैं, बाथरूम के डोर के फ्रंट में और पीछे दोनों जगह पे रखेंगे एंड वी यूजुअली से कलर कोडेड. सो हम जो पेपर पे लिख रहे हैं ना, दैट पेपर कैन बी ऑफ अ कलर जो यूजुअली हम दूसरी चीजों पे इस्तेमाल नहीं करते हैं. सो वी डोंट वांट टू बी यूजिंग रेड. Red is often used with stop. We don't want to be using green. We don't want to be using yellow. These are all colors that alag what would I say? Symbols के लिए हम use करते हैं. Use something like purple. Purple is a color that usually कोई community science में use नहीं होते हैं. So you've written private in the front of the door and the back of the door. ठीक है? मगर मेरे बच्चे को private शब्द का तो मतलब ही पता नहीं. Absolutely. और वही तो हम सिखाने वाले हैं, इस शब्द का मतलब है क्या. So we are going to be teaching our child private acts to be done in the private area. जब भी कोई भी private act हो रही है, हम ensure करेंगे that the door is closed. Something like this. जब भी हम बाथरूम में जा रहे हैं, हम इंश्योर करेंगे कि पैंट खोलने से पहले हम बाथरूम में घुसे, हमने, if you're doing this with a 2-year-old, maybe we're not teaching the 2-year-old to do it, but we are ensuring that the door is closed and then the pants are lowered. When it is slowly banda bada ho ja raha hai, we are going to ensure that banda aa gaya and हमने hand on hand prompt करके उससे दरवाजा बंद करवाया, उसके बाद पैंट lowered हो रहे हैं. This needs to become part of the routine so that my child learns that for any private act, the door needs to be closed. The second one. So ये हमारे बच्चे ने सीख लिया. Remember, मेरा बच्चा cognitively सीख रहा है ये. आप सोचें, आप कमरे में आ गए, आपने दरवाजा बंद कर दिया, आपने कपड़े खोल लिए, पर आपके घर में जो सफाई करती है ना, वो एट दैट पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम आपका कमरा साफ कर रही है. Is it still private? And that is also something that we need to teach our children. Just having the door closed does not mean it's private. The fact that only कुछ लोग मुझे private acts करते हुए देख सकते हैं. So only a few people can see me without being closed. And ये हम actively सिखाएंगे. So maybe parents, mama देख सकती है, papa देख सकते हैं, and I would definitely say one more family member maybe, because you want to always think of situations जहाँ पे शायद mama papa दोनों ही busy हैं, शायद मम्मा की तबीयत खराब है, पापा गए हैं उनके साथ. So we want to leave that window a little bit. ठीक है? And so maybe it's say mama, papa and nani can see me without clothes. ठीक है? Nana cannot see me without clothes. So contrive to teach. अब दरवाजा आपने हल्के से बंद कर दिया है, आपने नाना को बोला है हम सिखाने वाले हैं, so you want to be ready. आप राहुल के कपड़े पहना रहे हैं, maybe Rahul is really little and you're actually helping Rahul to wear his clothes. नाना अंदर आ गए. You make a big hoo-ha about it. No, अभी राहुल कपड़े पहन रहे हैं, मैं कपड़े पहन रहा हूँ, आप बाहर जाओ. This is private. And आपने ensure किया कि नाना बाहर चले गए और दरवाजा बंद हो गया. And जैसे ही कपड़े हमने पहन लिए, हमने दरवाजा खोल के राहुल के लिए बोला, नाना अंदर आ जाओ, private time is finished. Get it? So we actually contrive to teach these things. Okay. अगर कोई private act हो रहा है other than the private area, we're gently going to guide the child back. And we want to do it from the time the child is little. When the child is 2 years old, वो बगैर कपड़े के जब बाहर living room में आ जाता है ना, it looks adorably cute. तब लगता है कि गोदी में लेके बिल्कुल पुचकार दो, right? But when the person is 13 years old, तब cute नहीं लगता है, right? And it can also be dangerous for the child. So what we want to do is, agar right from the time the child is little, we are seeing a private act happening outside the room. Okay? Outside the private area, hum gently redirect karenge with using words shuna, private, and we redirect the child to the room and we ensure the door is closed. Similarly, for an adolescent who may be fondling himself, fondling his private parts outside, we want to gently say, Shona, this is private, and we take the child to the private area. Every time we want to redirect, and it is critical that we are not reprimanding the child. हम उसको कोई कूहा नहीं करे. शर्म नहीं आती है? शर्म आनी चाहिए ना? छी. Shame. Why do you need to say all this? What is so shame about it, yaar? We just said there is no shame about it. The fact that it needs to be done in a different place. What is shame about it? Okay? So instead of saying shame, just tell the child what he's supposed to do and keep your comfort intact. ठीक है? चीज बोलूं, ये प्राइवेट जो है ना, हमें काफी लोगों को सिखाना पड़ता है. हाउ ऑफन डू वी सी ऑन द रोड्स पीपल स्क्रैचिंग देयर प्राइवेट पार्ट्स, especially men. I'm sorry, apologies to the men in the audience. ठीक है? So we want to remember this. We want to teach the child about privacy like we teach with in any other concept. We want to be comfortable, we want to visualize, we want to use physical prompt, and we want to reinforce. Babus, we always want to respect the child's privacy. बच्चा अपनी private area में है, दरवाजा बंद है, we don't walk in. We knock, even for the 2-year-old. Shana, may I come in? अंदर आऊं? वो रिस्पेक्ट हमने देनी है, नहीं तो वो सीखेंगे कैसे? Similarly, we want them to respect our private space also, Babus. So, you know, bathing with the child, undressing in front of the child, these are things that we don't want to do from the time the children are little. Okay. Sometimes I know with little children on Sundays, daddies and kids have a bath together. Fine. Ensure that both daddy and the child are wearing their undergarments. That's it. So we want to respect the child's privacy. We want to teach the child to respect our privacy. Now we're moving towards adolescence. We're doing all of this. And Babus, remember, agar hum ye sari cheezein shiddat se kar rahe hain, we're really doing it very, very well, keeping the autistic neurobiology intact. This is not going to be as difficult as we think it is going to be. Okay. So what is adolescence? Adolescence basically is it's a transitional phase, right? Childhood से adulthood में जाने के लिए जो phase बीच में आता है उसको हम adolescence बोलते हैं. It usually happens between the age of 10 to 18. So this is a span we want to remember because we want to start preparing a little bit before 10. It's a time for a lot of changes. ये हम सबको पता है. बहुत bodily physical changes होते हैं और इन physical biological changes को हम pubertal changes बोलते हैं. There are changes in the way we think. There are changes in the way we interact with people. What are some of the physical changes for boys? Suddenly they start growing bigger, taller. There's increased muscle development. Their body proportions change, especially their private parts. Okay, so there's growth in testes, their penis grows. Okay, there are changes in hormonal levels as far as testosterone is concerned. Underarm hair hoga, pubic hair hoga, facial hair hoga. Increased production of oil, basically you will see, and that is why pimples hote hain, right? Erections honge, so during puberty erections honge, first ejaculation honge, nocturnal ejaculations honge, jisko hum nightfall bolte hain, right? And the voice changes. For girls, again, rapid gains in height and weight, and there is muscle development, but it is also increased body fat. Body proportions change. Yes, they grow taller, but they also start developing breasts. There is change in hormonal levels, estrogen. There's growth of underarm hair, pubic hair, like their male counterparts. There's also more oil production and sweat gland activity बढ़ती hai, and this is when our girls start having their periods. Okay, what are the cognitive changes and you know, I'm talking about neurotypical adolescence and puberty. Usually puberty may and adolescence may, the thought process starts getting more logical, less abstract. There is more of problem solving, decision making, all these things come in from this part, and as जैसे हम बड़े होते हैं ये और ज्यादा रिफाइंड होती है. और एक चीज जो होती है, दिस एबिलिटी टू थिंक हाइपोथेटिकली. यूजुअली जब हम बच्चे होते हैं ना, वी आर वेरी कॉन्क्रीट थिंकर्स, बट as adolescents we have this ability to think that agar aisa hota to waisa hota. So you know, this ability to think in abstract terms. What about the psychosocial changes? We all know this actually. Heightened awareness of self. You know, this concept that main ek banda hu who is separate from my family, who's separate from my friends, actually who's probably closer to my friends than to my family. So this need for agency, this need for autonomy, the ability to think from other people's perspectives, this is something that gets heightened at this point of time. So, we start thinking about दूसरे लोग क्या सोच रहे हैं, and कुछ हद तक उनके नजरिए से सोचना. There's an increased desire to be with हम उम्र के लोग and becoming comfortable with one's sexuality. So this is all the things that happen in adolescence and puberty. So what about in autism? In autism, the physical and biological, the hormonal changes are like their peers. There is greater sense of self and self-identity. There is greater problem-solving, decision-making skills. That ये जो चीजें हैं ना, ये developed होती हैं, and there is an increased desire to socialize. And very critically, और एक चीज होती है बबूस, is that एक change of expectations हो जाती है हमारी ओर से. इतने दिन, as I said, अगर बच्चा बगैर कपड़ों के घूम रहा था ना, it was okay. But as the child grows up, हमारी expectations change हो जाती है. And that can be very difficult. इतने साल तो you were okay about अगर मैं, so even something as simple as following instructions. मैंने 5 साल के बच्चे को बोला शना थोड़ा सा ग्लास ला दो किचन से, बच्चा नहीं लाया, we let it go, right? But if the same thing was asked out of a 15-year-old and the person did not do it, तब हम क्या बोलते? ये तो बात ही नहीं सुनता है मेरा. फर्क किसमें आया बेटा? बच्चे में या हम में? हम में आया ना, हमारी expectations में आई. So this is also very complex for our children. All these years you were okay about it. What happened suddenly? Okay? So there is a change of expectations, and we need to remember, given the autistic neurobiology, dealing with change is difficult. That can cause immense anxiety, confusion, frustration. Also not realizing that this is a shared experience. Usually आप में और हम में क्या होता है, जिनके friends होते हैं, हमें पता है हाँ उसकी भी ऐसी ही दशा है. She is also having her periods and cramps हो रहे हैं उसको. So this shared experience helps us go through it. Hormonal changes, like in anybody and a little more in our children, maybe cause mood swings, depression, anxiety, anger. There is a need to assert self, need for autonomy. But given the fact that मैं अलग तरीके से communicate करता हूँ, अलग तरीके से my social understanding is different. While the neurotypical peer may just bang the door and decide that मैं अपने कमरे में ही रहूँगा, मैं बाहर नहीं निकलूँगा, our autistic people may express themselves in different ways, which may be socially inappropriate in the non-autistic world. So maybe there's going to be hitting happening, throwing happening, whatever. Okay? It's just because expression is different. Similarly, problem solving, decision making, this desire for autonomy, शायद बंदे की इतनी opportunities है ही नहीं to be able to express this. Okay? So all of this put together alongside, there may be increase in anxiety levels, there usually is. Sensory difficulties may emerge fresh. There could be change in activity levels. मुमकिन है कि जो बंदा बहुत lethargic था suddenly बहुत active हो गया, बंदा जो बहुत active था suddenly बहुत lethargic हो गया. There could be stress reactions. We don't call it challenging behaviors. We do not call it challenging behaviors. अगर हमने challenging behaviors actually बोलनी है, हमने सोचना है हमारी कितनी challenging behaviors हैं हमारे बच्चों के नजरिए से. कहीं ज्यादा, वो बहुत ज्यादा हमें बर्दाश्त करते हैं than हम उनको बर्दाश्त करते हैं. Okay? So challenging behaviors भाई हमारे बच्चों में नहीं है. हाँ, stress reactions जरूर है. There could be loss of skills, and some people may develop seizures during adolescence. So all this put together, जो period usually non-autistic लोगों के लिए भी difficult है, can turn into a challenge for some of our teens. In the same breath, I want to say, everything we talked about, the preparation, बाबूज ये जितना हम अच्छी तरह से करेंगे, believe me, we will be able to minimize the challenge. Believe me, we've seen this. So who is going to help over here? हम ही करेंगे, हमने ही करना है. At adolescence, one of the first things that we need to do, babus, is probably go through the process of acceptance again. You know, 10 साल का है, 11 साल का है, we kind of reached an equilibrium. We've learned to live with this person, this wonderful person who's different. But at adolescence, ये बंदा ही change कर रहा है. So we may need to go through this process of acceptance, finding equilibrium all over again. And as Mary says, to quote her, acceptance of all that is, of all that will be, and of all that is not and will not be. Acceptance of this, ये जो vibrant बंदा है ना, ये जो बच्चा है, or the potential that he has to become this gorgeous, fabulous human being, acceptance of that. And there are some things that we want to teach our children during puberty and adolescence. We want to teach all of this. When, remember, हमने बोला था 10 से 18. I would kind of start this from the time the child is 10. Okay? About changes in the body. What we want to do is we want to prepare for changes in the body. We want to keep this, don't make this a very stressful experience. Sound excited. Growing up is a good thing. So, aapka bacha, and this is something I just realized. And being Bangali, being from a family, जो Shotojit Ray देखते हैं and Soumitra Chatterjee देखते हैं, मेरा बेटा loves Salman Khan. तो वो तो ऐसे में ही, like, it's a big thing in our family. Hi, कैसे हो गया? किसका बेटा है types. Okay, so supposing you have a child who likes Salman Khan, yeah, you're going to be you're growing up. Shona, you're growing up to be a young man like Baba, like Kaku, like Arunashish Kaku, like Salman Khan. Okay, so you want this to become a good thing. And, this is something we need to help our children understand. It's okay to grow up. Changes are difficult. Suddenly I'm growing. Suddenly my clothes don't fit me. It can be such a confusing experience. So it is okay to grow up. You're growing up to be a man, woman, as I said. Should I draw attention to changes? So jab aap, maybe, the child is wearing clothes. You're in the room. Mustache ho raha hai yaar. Growing up to be a young man, dude. Gender-specific information about changes in the body. And we want to use visuals. I always say, please use realistic visuals. Don't use cartoons, clip art, etc. So we want to use visuals like this. This is a lovely one. I would recommend that everyone use this, a growing up album, so that the child can see it. We want to use a checklist like this for our girls. We want to use a checklist like this for our boys, okay? And we want to teach in a relaxed setting as a conversation. Acha, ab bade ho ja rahe ho aap. How? Baat karni hai. We need to talk about growing up. No, yaar. Aap log TV dekh rahe ho, TV mein Salman Khan aa raha hai, tab sikhao. Acha, sun, kuch pictures bhi hai, dekhte hain. Use biology books to teach. Okay, we want to teach about hygiene and health. Shanas, as far as hygiene is concerned, we are basically just reiterating itne din jo humne sikhaya hai. We want to emphasize on daily baths. Now, this is something that, very frankly, even non-autistic youngsters don't want to do. Put the bath on the schedule. It's going to help. Emphasize on washing of face, underarms, private parts, feet and hands. अगर ये सारे clean हो गए ना, more or less पूरा body clean हो जाएगा. Again, use work systems for it. Wearing clean clothes, and the other thing that I usually mention is wearing contemporary clothes. So what happens for some of our kids, and what I want to say is, ये ज़्यादा हमारे generation में होता है, आप लोगों के generation में नहीं होता. You guys have walked so far. Okay, so हमारे generation की जो youngsters है ना, the youngsters who are 30, 35, usually कभी कभार आप देखोगे that they look like very old fashioned clothes. That's because their parents are choosing their clothes, and their parents are choosing clothes knowing the fashion that was there 30 years back. I know. So we want to be ready with the contemporary fashion, and we also always want to keep, oh, sorry guys, individuality and sensory difficulties in mind. Okay, everybody is wearing lycra pants, but my child can't because of sensory difficulties. Cool, yaar, or option ढूंढो. Application of deodorant, talcum powder, these things is that the whole piece. See, हम जो कुछ भी बोले, अच्छा बोले, बुरा बोले, हमें एक चीज पता है कि first impressions matter, right? बंदा कैसा दिख रहा है, it does not, हम जितना भी बोले, looks don't matter, अंदर का इंसान matter करता है. Looks matter. Period. That's what life is all about. Looks matter. Okay? So we want our children to be smelling nice. We want our children to be, to be presentable. It just has, and it's not just about our children, guys. It's about us also, right? I mean, sorry. मैं अपने घर के कपड़े पहन के नहीं आई हूँ, right? I've made an effort to dress. I have. Okay. So we all do that, and we want our children to do that also. Okay. Application of creams, medication for acne, and Babus, all of this, we want it to be as independent as possible. Dental hygiene, I don't need to talk about this. Going to a dentist is a nightmare for all of us. We want to remember that as far as our children are also concerned. As an aside, I'm just going to very quickly, so this is a suggestion. If possible, from the time the child is kind of young, ensure that you're taking your children to the doctor at least twice a year to familiarize. Dentist छोटी उम्र से at least experience करने दो हल्का सा, so that जब actually जरूरत हो, it's not an absolutely frightening experience. So this is just something that I would recommend. And dentists, if you have a dentist who has an autistic child, perfect. उसी के पास हम जाएंगे. We want to, of course, use visual supports to foster independence. Okay. Girls need to be taught about wearing a bra. Why am I mentioning a bra specifically? Largely because, remember, it's a change. It's a fresh garment that the child needs to, the young girl needs to learn to wear. The other thing is, we as women, we all know that bras are extremely uncomfortable. Let's face it. ठीक है, गर्मी, especially in our kinds of weather, yaar. Okay, so when you are talking about wearing a bra, you want to ensure that you are keeping the child's sensory needs in mind. Look for a bra that is going to be comfortable. Factor in motor movements, front clasp, back clasp. Some of our kids who may want a back clasp, what we teach them to do is सामने clasp करके पीछे घुमाना and then हाथ घुसाना into the straps. Okay, depending on how your daughter is going to be the most comfortable, do that. I always recommend that we take the girl out to buy the bra, or हम अगर online कर रहे हैं इस चीज को, which is probably not something you're going to do. Okay, so let her have a say in the matter. Wash the undergarments if required. For some of our kids, you may need to make them wear inside out seams. You guys live in fabulous time, you get seamless bras. Okay, so I'm actually talking about what we had learned around 20 years back, and it's wonderful to know how far we walked. Boys need to be taught about shaving facial hair exactly the way you've taught everything else. So, we use backward chaining, we use visuals to support independence, etc. As far as health is concerned, we want to have a regular physical exercise routine right from the time the child is little. Put it into the routine, put it into the schedule, okay? At different times, don't forget to make the schedule flexible. Using gym equipment for the adolescent, freehand exercise, and keep it fun. This is not something जो आप उसको खींच के ले जा रहे हो. जितना इसको हम fun बनाएंगे ना, it will be better when the child is older. Healthy, ये actually, you know what? This is true for all of us. And एक चीज हमें याद रखनी है, you want to look at adolescents around you. কটা 13-14 বছরের বাচ্চা পাতল মাছের ঝোল খায় বলতে পারবেন? If you can actually come out with even 50%, I will change my name. I'm saying this publicly. क्या यार? Okay, so this is true for any person. And we want to keep trying to introduce new foods, but we always want to remember individuality. हम सबकी individuality है. किसी को तीखा खाना पसंद है, किसी को हल्का खाना पसंद है. Remember that, and remember the sensory differences. ठीक है? About menstruation. We need to remember, Babus, that it can be a very stressful experience for both autistic and non-autistic girls. Our girls are not alone in this, but because it may not be, you know, ये shared experience ना समझने के लिए हमारी लड़कियों के लिए शायद और थोड़ा सा मुश्किल हो रहा है. Think about it, Shunas. इतने दिन अगर खून निकलता था, हम क्या करते थे? First aid लगाते थे. हम बोलते थे it's hurting. So it was a big thing, right? And here I'm going to be bleeding from my private parts for 5 days. It can be a very stressful experience. So we want to prepare our girls. We want to prepare in advance. कब से prepare करेंगे? You know, usually बोला जाता है कि मम्मा की periods जब हुई हैं, every generation के साथ periods थोड़ा सा जल्दी होता है. So if I've had my periods at 10, I can anticipate maybe मेरी लड़की की periods होने वाले हैं when she's, sorry. So I've had it at 11. Maybe my daughter will have it at around 10. From 9.5, start preparing. Okay. How do we prepare? First and foremost, we're going to tell her it's okay. It's part of growing up. Mama has her periods. You know. Wait, where did I mean? Okay. Mama has her periods. Didi has her periods. Mashi, a favorite Mashi, has her periods. Introduce her to the sanitary napkin, the touch and feel. And yahan pe na main usually bolti hu, let's invest in good sanitary napkins that my child is most comfortable with. And you have so many options now. Okay, you also have these disposable panties that you can wear. Whatever the child is most comfortable with, you know her sensory needs the best. Contrive situations so that she can see you or a sister using the napkin. So what are we going to do? You've had your periods, so you're just talking about it. Mama के periods हुए हैं, and अब ना mama change करने वाली है. So आपने maybe कमरे में दरवाजा को हल्का सा बंद करके, but पूरा नहीं बंद किया आपने आप उसके सामने ही, you know, you're putting your sanitary napkin. Then you go to the bathroom and you're washing yourself really well. You're wearing the sanitary towel. So you're already giving the child an experience that this is a shared experience. ये सिर्फ मेरे साथ नहीं हो रहा है. Okay. इसके बाद जो हम करना चाहते हैं is that we want to have a period kit. This is from prep stage, guys. And we want to have a clear, designated, accessible place for the period kit, both at school and at home. And hum bhi, as mamas, we will also use the period kit. So ye jo period kit hai na, these are for all the women in the house. If possible, before the child has her period, even starts bleeding, practice using the napkin. Yes, Shishirji.
Shares my experience.
Shishji, can we, I'm just going to, because of paucity of time, I'm just going to, okay. So what we are going to do is, we are going to, where was I? Yeah, practice using the napkin if possible, even before the child has started bleeding. Okay? So what we want to do is, we want to, give me a moment, I'm very distractible. Yeah. So for around 5 days, just let's have the girl wear the sanitary napkin, because we all know that when you have your periods, there are so many other kinds of discomfort that you have. So at least if the girl is used to wearing the sanitary napkin, that is one discomfort that you've already gotten her used to. Okay. Ensure that you're telling her that she may have some physical discomfort during her periods. Visualize. Take care. And we want to use a calendar with approximate dates marked clearly. Approximate dates. So these are the period dates. We want to use social stories. We want to use visuals. And remember, हम जब social story कर रहे हैं, we want to provide information that is relevant and important for a particular individual. Okay. Once a month, I will bleed from my private parts for about 5 days. This is called getting my periods. You're reassuring the child it's okay to have my periods. Mama, Didi also have periods. You're telling the child what is going to happen during the periods. When I have my periods, I can tell Mama, Didi, ex-teacher. You are limiting the number of people with whom she can talk about her periods, depending on if she needs to change her, the kind of clothes that she wears. We may want to mention that. We may want to mention the kind of sanitary protection she's going to be using. We can tell her when is it time to change the period, and oftentimes we may need to set alarms, or we may need to give reminders, and I'm always for setting alarms. We're going to tell the child exactly kya karne wale hain hum sanitary napkin ke saath. I wash my hands. We will also talk about the physical discomfort, and we will also tell the child specifically kin ko hum help ke liye bol sakte hain. This is for the girl's safety. Okay. We want to use visuals and we want to use physical prompts. Clearly diya gaya hai kya karna hai. Clearly diya gaya hai kya karna hai. Use these. If you need to enhance understanding, you may use something like this. Yeah. Babu, as far as this alarm business is concerned, abhi ढेर सारे apps मिलते हैं which keep the period on track. So use those. Use technology. We live in a world which is so advanced as far as technology is concerned. Use it. Okay? So that's another thing. So this was about periods. Okay. Now about sexuality. What we need to remember is when we talk about sexuality now, sexuality in our people is exactly like their neurotypical peers. Neither are they asexual, koi sexual feelings nahi hai, nor are they hypersexual. Bahut zyada sexual hai. No. They are just like you and I. It's very personality dependent. Okay? Remember, ye jo sexual feelings ho rahe hain, it's part of intrinsic development as a part of growing up. It is also awareness of sexual content. Yaar, hamare movies mein aap dekho, hamare advertisements mein dekho, there is sexual content, right? So, ऐसी बात नहीं है कि हमारे बच्चों से ये बिल्कुल छुपी बात है. No. But I must say something. It can be very confusing for people जो पूछ नहीं सकते हैं, या अपनी curiosity को share नहीं कर सकते हैं, या concerns को share नहीं कर सकते. And मैं यहाँ पे सिर्फ autistic लोगों की बात नहीं कर रही हूँ. मैं non-autistic population की भी बात बोल रही हूँ, which is why sex education is part of a regular curriculum, right? Because हम myths नहीं रखना चाहते हैं. We want to tell our people exactly what everything is. So, it can be very confusing. We want to teach this like we would teach anything else. About masturbation. We need to remember that ये एक normal sexual bodily function है. It's a normal sexual bodily function. Thereby हमें अपने comfort पे काम करना पड़ेगा. मेरा teen is masturbating. It's an absolutely normal sexual bodily function. So what's the big deal about it? So from this place of comfort, हमें जो हमारे बच्चों को सिखानी पड़ेगी is the social implications. That of course it's okay to masturbate, but एक social पहलू है इसका. And we want to teach our children safe ways to masturbate. Because अगर हम नहीं सिखाएंगे and वो उस confusion के साथ अपने आप को satisfy करने की कोशिश करेंगे, they may harm themselves, and we do know of people who harm themselves quite severely. Okay. So what do we want to do? We want to teach our children that it is okay to masturbate, but that it is a private act and it needs to be private. और यहाँ पे हमने private को बहुत clearly define करना है. Private may be only my toilet. It is not all toilets, because you probably don't want your child to be, your teen to be masturbating in the public toilet, right? So you want to, ये जो हम दायरा define कर रहे हैं ना, ये जो boundary define कर रहे हैं, बहुत सोच समझ के करेंगे हम, so that we are absolutely taking care of the child's safety and of course the sexual needs. We want to be very clear about the hygiene aspect. Okay? Maybe wiping myself off with a tissue, washing myself after that, washing my hands. I know plenty of autistic people who keep private time, that's what a lot of them call it, on their schedule. So they have a time when they have put aside for masturbation. And I think that's, that's the beauty of autism. That's what planning is all about, right? And we teach through social stories, if need be, through videos. Okay? Realistic videos. Sometimes I want to touch myself, it's okay. I will do it in private. You want to define private, this needs to be individualized. Okay? For some of our people, in a lot of our homes, I may not have the luxury of my own room. I can't keep the bathroom occupied for half an hour while I'm masturbating. It's not possible. So maybe my bed undercovers. When I have finished, whatever is the routine that you're teaching. Sometimes I may have difficulty. I can ask daddy, mama, or someone else to help me. Okay? Just a sec, guys. If you can excuse me for a minute, please.
Okay, ma'am.
And remember, again, like in periods, you are defining किसको हम help के लिए बोल सकते हैं. Okay? About sexual attraction to another person, the first thing is we want to acknowledge it, acknowledge its validity. ये कोई बुरी चीज नहीं है यार. We've all had crushes as teenagers. So acknowledge it. Alongside, reiterate the necessity of consent, reciprocity of feelings. Just because आपको फला पसंद है does not mean उनको भी आप पसंद हो. And बाबू एक बात बोलूं, I'm not just talking about autistic people. I think autistic people से ज़्यादा non-autistic people को ये सिखानी है हमने. Okay? And ये absolutely critical है right from the time the child is little. Not everybody needs to be in a romantic relationship, यार. सबके बॉयफ्रेंड, सबके गर्लफ्रेंड होना जरूरी नहीं है. शादी करण जौहर की पिक्चर नहीं है. सबको शादी करने की जरूरत नहीं है. Draw attention to those of our friends who are single and so happy. Okay, so this is some, right from the time, हमारे देश में especially, शादी is the ultimate thing. It is not, yaar. ठीक है? So we want to be very careful about that. Okay, about personal safety. We want to teach our children about relationship boundaries and about abuse. What do I mean by relationship boundaries? So हमारी जिंदगी में अलग-अलग लोग हैं और उनके साथ हमारी जो intimacy है वो अलग-अलग है. And remember, for my visual learner, I want to visualize this. इसको हम circles of support बोल सकते हैं, relationship circles बोल सकते हैं. अलग-अलग circles हैं और अलग-अलग circle basically clarifies relationships. अलग-अलग circle में अलग-अलग लोग हैं. So it could be a private circle, it could be a hug circle. Okay, अलग-अलग लोग, अलग-अलग colors. Step 1. Step 2 is basically this. कौन से लोग हैं, उनके photographs रखने वाले हैं and the rules of interaction. मैं उसको थोड़ा सा, so say this is the first circle, private circle. इसमें photographs है of the relevant people pasted inside the circle. You can have the rules of interaction within this circle. या you have the relationship circles and हर उसके इर्द गिर्द on a different piece of paper in the same color you have something like this. Okay, you have rules. What kind of rules? कितना पास रह सकते हैं? Can I hug this person? Can I kiss this person? Is this person part of my privacy? When I need help, is this somebody I talk to? What can we talk about with this person? Okay, so all these things. What is the kind of information I can share with these people? Itni personal information मैं share कर सकता हूँ. For that matter, is this a person I can ask for certain kinds of information? So this is something that we are going to do with all the circles. ठीक है? यहाँ पे so and till the handshake circle, अगर आप देखोगे हमारे पास photographs होंगे. But the wave circle, जिनको हम शायद, you know, the guy on the shopkeeper on the street maybe, or somebody जिनको मैं just hi बोलती हूँ, उनका photograph लेना शायद मुमकिन नहीं होगा मेरे लिए, right? So again, just visually हम degree of intimacy हमारे बच्चों को सिखा सकते हैं कि इतना तक जो intimacy है ना, the intimacy changes in this circle because there are no pictures. Stranger circle और भी. So इससे ना हम visualize कर रहे हैं. And Babu, this is not something that we want to start at adolescence. Start now. It's going to help your child. So this is for a far younger child. And ये याद रखना कि ये जो circles of intimacy है ना, ये this is not something that stays constant. ये change करती रहती है. Okay? Okay. About abuse. I want to, okay, one of the things that we need to remember, abuse is not just about physical and sexual abuse. हम जिस तरीके से हमारे बच्चों के साथ बोलते हैं, हम जिस तरीके से हमारे बच्चों के बारे में बोलते हैं, जिस तरीके से उनके साथ बात करते हैं, जो expectations रखते हैं उनसे, वो भी abuse हो सकता है. So ये हम नहीं करते. About abuse, physical or otherwise, one of the things that we need to remember, we are not alone. Just because my child is autistic, मेरी fear ज़्यादा है, ये actually सही नहीं है. हर parent को equal amount of डर लगता है about abuse. Okay, एक कहावत है, the moment you become a parent, it's like allowing your heart to walk outside you. आपका बच्चा आपका दिल है, चाहे वो autistic हो, चाहे वो non-autistic हो, right? So what we're going to do is, for our children, we want to be focused on any kind of, you know, sudden behavior. Suddenly इस बंदे के साथ वो रहना नहीं चाहता है. बाबू, the flinch, कोई approach कर रहा है और बच्चा flinch किया, you want to be very, very careful. Okay, so those are the kind of signs that you want to be looking out for. Or मैं जो this is something that I always say, this is from the time the child is little. ये जो escape behavior है ना, I don't believe in escape behavior. और जब escape behavior होता है, I don't believe that we need to work on the child. हम कहाँ से escape करना चाहते हैं? From an environment, from a person that is not good, right? So जब हम escape की बात बोलते हैं बाबूस, do we need to change the environment or the person? The environment. So ये जो ABA में escape बोलते हैं ना, at least I don't agree with it. We want to teach our children to maintain appropriate physical distance from others. Guys, I'm going to take a little more time. I will need around 10 more minutes. I hope that's okay. Organizers, am I good with that?
No problem, Didi.
Thank you. Okay. So about sexual abuse, the first thing we want to do, Babus, is to teach our children to maintain a distance from different people. Remember, we've already defined that in our relationship boundaries. How do we teach the one-arm distance? Okay? What we do is we actually contrive to teach. So हम बच्चे के बहुत पास आ गए हैं, जिसके साथ उसको one-arm distance रखनी है. And what we teach our children actually is to put one arm out. And the important part is, usually जब हम ये करते हैं ना, the child puts the one arm out and the person backs off. The person is not to back off. The child is to back off. So for the child to understand that अगर मैं बहुत पास आ गया हूँ, I need to back off. So that is one of the things that we want to teach. So that kind of proximity stuff, we've already taught it in the relationship boundaries. The other thing that we want to teach is, Shunas, unnecessary hugging, kissing को avoid करो. Operative word is unnecessary. ये जो बच्चा 2 साल का 3 साल का होता है ना, अंकल को किसी कर दो, आंटी के गोदी में चले जाओ, क्यों करते हैं यार हम? And unnecessary is important because आप लोगों के वक्त में ये नहीं होता, हमारे वक्त में बहुत होता था. मम्मी को बड़ा बच्चा हग नहीं करेगा, क्यों नहीं करेगा यार? मैं मम्मी हूं उसकी. My dad died when he was almost 80. On his last day, before he, he had his stroke, he hugged me. Just because मेरे बच्चे को autism है, अगर वो मुझे hug करना चाहता है, हम उससे वंचित करेंगे? क्यों? So remember, unnecessary is the operative word over here. Teach to say no, guys. No to physical advances. And by physical advances, what I mean is not just touching private parts. Tell me something, Judeshna, you're going on a bus, can any stranger touch you? Forget about your breasts, forget about anything else. क्योंकि एरकम बार touch करते पारे, एखानेও touch करते पारे ना ना. So it is not about touching private parts. It's more than that. No stranger is supposed to be touching me. So we teach this. कैसे teach करते हैं? We actually do this. ठीक है? मैं जो सिखा रही हूँ, बच्चे के पीछे खड़ी हूँ, and we just ask somebody who's not supposed to be touching my child, okay, to come try and touch the private parts. So ये आपकी लड़की है, आप कोई आ रहा है and टच करने की कोशिश कर रहा है, हैंड ऑन हैंड प्रॉम्प्ट करेंगे आप लड़की को एंड आप उसका हाथ झटका देंगे. सो इट्स समथिंग लाइक दिस. नो, इट डज नॉट मैटर आपका बच्चा बोल रहा है या नहीं, आप उसके लिए बोलोगे. और ये जो फिजिकल फोर्स है, दैट नीड्स टू बी डन. आवर चिल्ड्रन लर्न. ओके, एंड यू वांट टू प्रैक्टिस दिस. Who will I practice this with? Loads of people. या घर पे भी जो लोग आ रहे हैं उसके साथ आप प्रैक्टिस करें ना. They are not supposed to be touching your child, right? And Shonas, the other thing is we want to teach our children to say no. Period. And we want to respect our children's no. Usually क्या होता है ना, compliance training, another word I hate. ठीक है? We always teach our children to comply. हमने उनको सिखाया ही नहीं है नो कैसे बोलते हैं. Can you even begin? can we even begin to think what we're setting them up for? वो सीखते हैं अगर कोई adult है, कोई sense of कोई position of power में है, वो कुछ भी करे, कुछ भी हमें करने के लिए बोले हमने करना है. That's dangerous. Teach them to say no, respect their no. And of course, like any other child, we want to be careful about the kind of exposure that's happened. Remember, Babus, we're the anchors. अगर environment supportive होगी, अगर हम right from the beginning कोशिश कर रहे हैं anxiety and stress levels are minimized, कोई भी challenges associated with transition to adolescence and adulthood will be minimized. अगर कोई sensory difficulties है, this is exactly what we are doing now and we will continue doing it. Remember individualized sensory style. ये तो we all know. Alongside, for the seeker, we want to embed, especially adolescents and adults के लिए जितना मुमकिन हो रोजमर्रा की जिंदगी में needs को embed कीजिए, opportunities दीजिए to access and fulfill those needs. So somebody who has vestibular needs, something like this, somebody who has proprioceptive needs, the gym is fantastic. Any kind of आप बाजार गए हो और 5 किलो चावल ला रहे हो, आप नहीं कैरी करोगे, बच्चा कैरी करेगा, youngster कैरी करेगा. So get it into the system. उसको messy play अच्छा लगता है. Teach him to knead dough. जब आप अपने plants के साथ काम कर रहे हो, वो करें, right? Smell box is fabulous for our kids. अगर उसको garlic और ऐसी चीजों का smell बहुत अच्छा लगता है, peeling garlic उसका काम कर दो. So we want to embed as much as possible in routines. This is something called jewelry. Chewy tube, yes, but this is something called jewelry. This is something that has been developed by autistic people. Fancy looking chewing things that you can wear on your body. For somebody who's a visual seeker, games which has a lot of, video games is fabulous for the visual seeker. A stim toy like a spinner with lights is a fabulous thing to embed into routine for somebody who seeks sounds. Check out agar hum usko just exposure to musical instruments, having music on in the background. Can we do all of this? Agar banda avoid karta hai, we want to minimize exposure. जितना हो सके we want to minimize exposure. उसको लेबल से दिक्कत हो रही है, लेबल्स हटा दो. उसको जब शादी में जाते हैं उसको फैंसी कपड़े नहीं पहनने हैं, so be it. Coping strategies सिखाएं हम. प्रेशर कुकर के विसल से उसको बहुत दिक्कत आती है, हम सिखा सकते हैं बाबू ये जब शी कर रहा है ना, we can go to our room. We can give coping strategies like wearing a visor for somebody who finds the visual stimulus too stimulating. Noise cancelling headphones. So we can do all of this and we want to embed into routines. In case of loss of skills, my comfort is vital. तो कष्ट करे শিখেছিলাম, इतना देर लगा उसको सीखने में and he's lost it. Why? Go back to the strategies that आपने सिखाया था ना, strategies देके ही सिखाई थी, उसी को यूज करो, नए वाले फिर से यूज करो. Remember, no class system. The youngsters' progress and comfort is prime. 15 साल का बच्चा, I'm going to use the same strategies that I used when he was 2 years old. Yes, absolutely, because that's what worked. Also remember, Shunas, jitna hum supportive environment karenge, such that anxiety and stresses, no loss of skills come honge. Minimizing anxiety, stress, and stress reactions or challenging behaviors. Be proactive. हमारा काम है to minimize anxiety and stress, not to minimize stress reactions. अगर स्ट्रेस और एंजाइटी रहेगी ही नहीं, स्ट्रेस रिएक्शंस भी नहीं रहेंगी. As I always say, ना रहेगी बांस ना बजेगी बांसुरी. That's what we want. So we want to keep the stress reactions low, and we've already talked about this. We want to use everything that I actually talked about in the prep stage. We want to continue with that, but I will one more time focus on structure and visual supports. जितना देंगे उतना आप देखोगे बंदे की एंजाइटी नीचे आ रही है, वो ज्यादा फंक्शनल होगा और स्ट्रेस रिएक्शंस होंगे ही नहीं. अगर इसके बावजूद स्ट्रेस रिएक्शंस होंगे, द फर्स्ट थिंग इज वी नीड टू स्टे काम. बाबूस, दिस इज ट्रू फॉर ऑल ऑफ अस. हम सबकी जिंदगी में ऐसा कभी कभार होता है ना, जब हम बहुत स्ट्रेस्ड हो जाते हैं, हम बहुत वरिड है. एट दैट पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम जो लोग आपको सपोर्ट करते हैं, I'm giving you an example. So say this is me. I'm very bothered, very anxious about something. And at this point of time, जब मैं इतनी anxious हूँ, मैं क्या चाहूंगी, मेरे husband भी मेरे साथ उतना anxious हो जाए या वो बिल्कुल ठंडा रहे. One or two. Two, right? ठंडा रहे. Because आप मेरे anchor है. मुझे आपसे what would I say? I'm getting my peace from you. You're supporting me. I can't afford you to break down at this point of time. Okay? That's exactly what is happening with our children. उनकी जब stress reaction हो रही है, at that point of time, we need to keep calm because they are looking at us for their calmness. We want to try to understand why. We want to try what is the child trying to communicate. हमारे बच्चे ऐसे, it's a stress reaction. What is stressing them out? Acknowledge, validate. I know you're feeling bothered. Use a quiet voice. सबसे कम शब्द इस्तेमाल करो, but बहुत important. आपकी non-verbal cues क्या बोल रहे हैं? आप बोल तो रहे हो, I understand you're feeling bothered, but आपकी पूरी body tense है. Doesn't help. You want to be flexible. Babus, at this point of time, giving attention to bad behavior, पहली बात है, ये bad behavior है ही नहीं. Don't get into that. आपका काम है is to bring the stress level down. So बंदा बोल रहा है, so maybe he's on a work table and he is beginning to get bothered. आपने प्लान किया है और आधा घंटा काम करोगे, वो आपकी प्लान जाए भाड़ में. I know you're beginning to feel bothered, बस ये काम करेंगे and then maybe we can take a break, you can finish work time, whatever. मगर इससे तो bad behavior बढ़ेगी. Really? उसकी bad behavior हो क्यों रही है अगर हम बोल रहे हैं? Because वो stressed है. Stress किसने cause किया है? Environment में. Who is responsible for the environment? Who? Thank you. So remember that. Calming strategies, जो मैंने बोला था, this is where it's going to. So there's a learned strategy. Try and redirect there. Try and redirect to the supports, the learned routines, the visual supports. जो हम कतई नहीं करेंगे is हम berate नहीं करेंगे बंदे को. हम नहीं बोलेंगे इतने बड़े हो गए, मानना चाहिए, मम्मी को मानना चाहिए. I'm not going to get it. I'm sorry. Okay, we don't want to ask questions over and over again at that point of time. Once the child is calm, you are calm, go back to the drawing board. Collect data, as in, try and ask yourself, मैंने बोला क्या था? मैंने किया क्या था? क्या अलग तरीके से अगर हम करते या बोलते, things this could have been prevented. And put relevant supports in place. Always remember, ना रहेगी बांस ना बजेगी बांसुरी. That is our goal. Just to end, remember that हम bridge है between the autistic world and the non-autistic world, because we know both the worlds. ये जो experience हमारे लिए और हमारे बच्चों के लिए कितनी positive होगी, actually depends हम कितनी एक्सेप्टेंस के साथ, कितनी ओपन माइंडेडनेस के साथ, कितनी अप्रोप्रिएट स्ट्रैटेजीज के साथ हमारे बच्चों को अप्रोच कर रहे हैं. एंड मोस्ट इम्पोर्टेंटली, कितनी रिस्पेक्ट है मेरे बच्चे की अस्तित्व के लिए, उसकी डिग्निटी के लिए. So thank you so much guys. I'm really sorry. 10 minutes extra. I'm really sorry. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Didi.
Thank you, Didi.
Sorry, we
इतने
have-
बार
Thank you
आप-
so much, ma'am. Thank you.
If anybody having any
इतने
question,
बार
Thank you, ma'am.
इतनी बार
Thank you, ma'am.
Welcome everybody.
থাকলে কোশ্চেন করতে পারেন।
ম্যাম আমি স্বাতি ভট্টাচার্য একটা
Thank
প্রশ্ন
you.
করতে চাইছি।
Thank you, ma'am.
এর বয়স 12 বছর, এখনো পিরিয়ড চালু হয়নি। এবার যে আপনি পিরিয়ডের কথাটা বললেন, ধরুন আমার পিরিয়ড হলো, তার সঙ্গে সঙ্গে কি আমি যখন ন্যাপকিন নিচ্ছি ওকেও কি ন্যাপকিন নেওয়াটা ডেইলি ইয়ে
না,
করাবো,
না,
প্র্যাকটিস করাবো?
না সাথী, আমি সেটা করব না, আমি সময়টা আলাদা রাখবো, বুঝেছো? বিকজ তাহলে তুমি শেখাচ্ছ আমার যখন পিরিয়ড হবে তখন তোমারও হবে। ইউ ডোন্ট ওয়ান্ট টু ডু দ্যাট। ঠিক আছে,
আচ্ছা
you want to do it at other times, but you want to draw attention to the fact that মার periods হচ্ছে, মার হয়তো পেটে ব্যথা করছে, মা এবার প্যাড চেঞ্জ করবে, and you can do the practice later. কিন্তু প্র্যাকটিসটা আমি বলবো একটু পরে করবে, because আগে do the prep and then start the practice. ঠিক আছে,
ওকে ম্যাম, থ্যাংক ইউ।
thank you.
তো আর যদি কারো কোশ্চেন না থাকে, then we'll finish. Anybody having any question?
Ma'am,
ও হ্যাঁ শ্রেয়া বল।
ম্যাম, যা যা স্ট্র্যাটেজিস আপনি বললেন কিছুটা তো জানতাম, আপনার কাছ থেকে শেখা, রিভিশন হলো অনেকটাই। ম্যাম প্রবলেমটা হচ্ছে বাড়িতে তো ঠিক আছে সমস্ত কিছু ওকে, স্কুলে যখন যাচ্ছে বাচ্চা প্রবলেমটা ওখানে হচ্ছে।
একটা কথা বলবো, দ্যাট
বল।
মিন্স সাপোর্টিভ এনভায়রনমেন্টে অসুবিধা হচ্ছে না।
না, বিকজ বাড়িতে তো আপনিও জানেন আমি ট্রেন, আমি সেভাবেই ওকে রাখছি, ওর কোনো অসুবিধা হচ্ছে না, কিন্তু
বাবু,
স্কুলে যাওয়ার পর মানে
কি
ইনক্লুসিভ
অসুবিধা হচ্ছে?
এনভায়রনমেন্টে
কি হচ্ছে? হোয়াট ইজ দ্য
ম্যাম
প্রবলেম?
দেখুন, প্রথম কথাটা হলো ও তো ওখানে কি হচ্ছে সেটা আমাকে সে অতটা বলতে পারছে না, ওই জিনিসটা এখনো গ্রো করেনি। এক্স্যাক্টলি, হ্যাঁ এক্স্যাক্টলি।
That is exactly it, Shona. And this is something that, you know, I'm glad you brought it up. Babus, at the end of the day, we need, আচ্ছা শোনো, আমি কি বলছিলাম, you remember, আজকে যদি কোনো একটা ভিজুয়ালি ইম্পেয়ার্ড মানুষ কোনো মেইন স্ট্রিম স্কুলে যায়, ওকে কি বলা হবে না তো বাকি বাচ্চাদের মতন তুমি যে টেক্সট বুক বাকি বাচ্চারা পড়ছে তুমিও সেটা পড়ো? বলা হবে না, হবে না, হবে না। রেল দেওয়া হবে, আমাদের বাচ্চাদের সঙ্গে কেন ওই সাপোর্ট দেওয়া হবে না?
এক্স্যাক্টলি,
It is the right of my child. আমার বাচ্চা কোনো এলিয়েন নয়, is an Indian, is a part of the society. We pride ourselves on being an inclusive society, right? আমার বাচ্চার ওই নিডটা, সো শ্রেয়া আমি যেটা বলবো is try and talk to the school, try and figure out অসুবিধাটা কি হচ্ছে। The second thing I will say is যে supports এর দরকার, you are the one who's going to design it. All you need to convince the school to do is use the supports. Did I make myself clear? যা ওয়ার্ক সিস্টেম লাগবে, যা কিছু যাবে, সব শ্রেয়ার কাছ থেকে যাবে।
মানে আমি পাঠাবো সবকিছু।
Everything. Remember, that is the way we will do it in the mainstream. You know that.
Yes, ma'am.
Supports we will design, we will make, and we will just hope that the mainstream school is willing to use it.
ম্যাম
Because that's
ওইটাই
what we-
প্রবলেম হচ্ছে, ওরা ওদের মতো করতে চায়, ওরা বাচ্চার মতো করে না করতে চায় না, ওরা বলে আমাদের যে সিস্টেম তার মধ্যেই তোমাদেরকে ফিট করতে হবে, দ্যাট ইজ ইনক্লুশন, বাট দ্যাট ইজ নট ইনক্লুশন।
So that's exactly it, Shreya. You have to help them understand that is not inclusion.
থ্যাংক ইউ ম্যাম।
Thank you, Ma. আর কেউ?
দিদি, আমি সুদেশ না
বলো বাবু।
আমি যতবারই শুনি ততবারই এনকারেজড হই। আমার ছেলে যখন 2 বছর বয়স তখন তোমার থেকে ইন্সপিরেশন পেয়ে আমি এই ফিল্ডে আসি। তো আমার একটা প্রশ্ন আছে, সেটা হচ্ছে যে একটি একজন টিনেজার বাচ্চা, সে তার কিছু টাচিং বিহেভিয়ার ডেভেলপ করেছে, হ্যাঁ মানে অন্য আরেকজনকে টাচ করার, হ্যাঁ তো অন্য মানে মেইনলি অপোজিট সেক্সের কাউকে টাচ করার বিহেভিয়ারটা সে ডেভেলপ করেছে, এবং সে ধরো মানে সে আমার মানে আমি এমন একটা সিচুয়েশনে আমাদের কাছে এসেছে, মানে সে এখন মানে টিন এজেই রয়েছে। তো আমরা এটাকে ইগনোরেন্স টেকনিকটা বেসিক্যালি একটু কঠিন, কারণ সবাই ইগনোর মানে বিশেষ করে ফিমেল কাউকে টাচ করলে সে চট করে ইগনোর করতে ইনস্ট্যান্ট একটা রিঅ্যাকশন চলে আসছে। তো সেক্ষেত্রে আমরা এটাকে কিভাবে কি করতে পারি যদি একটু কিছু বল।
শোনো, আমি এটার জন্য I will definitely talk about, I will do relationship boundaries, সুদেশনা। ওইটা তো তুমি করবেই, ঠিক আছে? কে কতটা you know, তুমি what kind of behaviors are okay, number one. What areas of the body can I touch in other people, ঠিক আছে?
Okay.
And তুমি actively teach করবে to touch other, so you know I am always one যে আমি পামটাকে না এইটা বা এইটাকে আমি for attention touch করাই, ঠিক আছে?
আচ্ছা
তো
আচ্ছা
তুমি consciously সেটা করবে।
ওকে
Okay.
ওকে
You're also going to be, and whenever he does that, or আশেপাশে যে কেউ আছে, even if the president of India is there, the attention goes to this person, ঠিক আছে?
হ্যাঁ
The
আচ্ছা।
other thing যেটা আমরা করবো না is that মানুষটা আসছে আমার কাছে খুব subtly, not that, okay, but very casually আমি না এরকম ভাবে দাঁড়িয়ে থাকবো,
আচ্ছা
ঠিক আছে? ওকে, আই দাঁড়িয়ে থাকবো, পিঠটা করে দেবো very gently, তুমি বুঝছো আমি কি বলছি, so that the opportunity of his being able to touch my breast doesn't come in, and
Okay.
ensure that the basic, I think the fundamental thing to this is changing understanding, giving the boundaries, and really sorry, acknowledging it when he does it right.
Yes.
এইটা যদি করি না আমরা, and this needs to be consistent, সুদেশনা, খালি তোমার সঙ্গে না, এই individual যদি আশ্রমে থাকে, wonderful, because you know it's you're going, all of you are going to be on the same page. যদি আশ্রমে না থাকে আর মা বাবার সঙ্গে থাকে, it needs to be done with the parents also.
ওকে 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 থ্যাংক ইউ ভেরি মাচ। অবশ্যই আমি এটা মানে ট্রাই করবো।
বাট আর একটা জিনিস সুদেশনা, অফকোর্স আমার তোমাকে বলার দরকার নেই, দিস ইজ ফর দ্য রেস্ট অফ দ্য অডিয়েন্স, এই যে আমরা টার্ন করছি না, ইট শুড নট বি হাহা বাঘ আসছে, বাঘ আসছে না,
এটা হয় এটা
ওই বাঘ আসছে ব্যাপারটা হলেই না গন্ডগোল হয়।
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ এটা হয়, ও
We don't
আসছে
want to do that. না, আরে হ্যাঁ, এক্স্যাক্টলি, we don't want to do that. ওইটা, that is a very important learning.
একদম। থ্যাংক ইউ দিদি, থ্যাংক ইউ ভেরি মাচ।
And we have to finish the question answer now, and any more question will not be entertained because already time is up.
আমি একটা জিনিস একটু জানতে চাই দিদির থেকে।
Okay, last
দিদি, এটা স্বদেশনা দিও জানে, এখানে অমল স্যারও রয়েছে। আমার মেয়ের একটা সমস্যা হচ্ছে, ও কোনো স্যারকে দেখলে, বা স্যার বলবো না, শুধু বাড়িতেও কোনো যদি মেল কোনো কেউ আসছে, ধরুন ওর মেশো এলো বা আমার ভাইরা কেউ এলো, ও সঙ্গে সঙ্গে মাথাটা নিচু করে নেয় আর ঘরে ঢুকে যায়, বেরিয়ে যায়, মানে আর ওদের সঙ্গে দেখা করে না। যখন ওরা বেরিয়ে যাচ্ছে বা চলে যাচ্ছে, তখন হয়তো টাটা করতে এলো, সি অফ করতে এলো। এইটা সবসময় আমরা বাড়িতে, স্কুলের দিদিরাও চেষ্টা করেছে, আমরাও বাড়িতে চেষ্টা করি, মাথা তোলো, তার সঙ্গে ইন্ট্রোডিউস করো, কথা বলো, কিছুতেই দিদি সেটাও করে না।
You know, Shati, এটার ব্যাপারে না আমি I would not want to give a general suggestion, because I think এটার ব্যাপারে আরো একটু ইনফরমেশন নেওয়া খুব জরুরি। আমি তো সুদেশনা absolutely জানবে কি করবে, so সুদেশনা I would recommend আমরা একটু আরো একটু ইনফরমেশন নিই। যেটা আমরা ডেফিনেটলি করব না সাথী is the forcing. ওইটা কিন্তু আমরা করব না, বিকজ আমরা ঠিক জানি না এটা সেন্সোরিয়াল না কি হচ্ছে, কেন ও মাথাটা হেড করছে তো আমি জানি না। সো আমরা ডেফিনেটলি ফোর্স করব না, ও যেরকম ভাবে ইন্টারঅ্যাক্ট করতে চাইছে, লেট আস জাস্ট ডু দ্যাট। ও যদি হ্যান্ডশেক করতে চায় নিচু মাথা করে, দ্যাটস ফাইন।
আচ্ছা,
সো আমি ইটস সামথিং লাইক, সাথে আমি একটু আলাদা এক্সাম্পল দেব। আপনি যদি একেবারে ঝাল খাবার না খেতে পারেন, আমি কি আপনার মুখে অনেকগুলো লঙ্কা দিয়ে দেবো? Is that respectful?
একদম না, না।
It's the same thing, বাবা।
আচ্ছা দিদি,
থ্যাংক ইউ।
থ্যাংক ইউ দিদি।
থ্যাংক ইউ সবাইকে, দিদিকেও থ্যাংক ইউ, অনেকটা টাইম আমাদের দিয়েছেন, আমরা অনেক কিছু জানতে পেরেছি। এটা
Thank you.
সামনাসামনি হলে আরো ভালো লাগতো, বাট
সামনাসামনি কি করে হতো? আমি দিল্লিতে।
সো হোয়াট, আপনি চলে আসবেন কলকাতা। আমরা
Thank you
এক্সপেক্ট
so
করবো যে
much.
ইন ফিউচার সামনাসামনি আমরা এরকম একটা মানে এরকম একটা সেমিনার বা ওয়ার্কশপ আপনার কাছ থেকে অবশ্যই এক্সপেক্ট করব ফ্রম দ্য অর্গানাইজেশন ভাবনা। আরো যদি ভালো হয় সেটা যদি আমাদের আশ্রমে হয়, উইল ইনভাইট এভরিওয়ান হিয়ার, ইউ ক্যান কাম হিয়ার অ্যান্ড অ্যাটেন্ড দিস প্রোগ্রাম। এখন থেকে আমি বলছি দিদির সাথে কথা বলে যদি ফিউচারে আমরা অর্গানাইজ করতে পারি, ডেফিনেটলি উইল ওয়েলকাম এভরিওয়ান হিয়ার।
Absolutely.
থ্যাংক ইউ দিদি।
Thank you so much and bye. Have a wonderful Saturday.
Thank you, ma'am. Same to you. Bye.
বাই।
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye.